The silent return, the twin suns of Viren III dipped low behind jagged crystal mountains, painting the sky in sharp streaks of violet and amber. On the barren plains, dust swirled in ghostly ribbons, bending around the hovering spires of the alien city. It was beautiful, terrifying, and silent. Too silent. Cale Mercer, an Earth-born engineer exiled decades ago for defying alien authority, tightened his grip on the controls of his battered hovercraft. The engines hummed a low, anxious tune as he scanned the horizon. He wasn't alone. Millions of eyes, some curious, some hostile, watched from the city walls. It's been quiet for far too long, Cale muttered to himself. His voice was hoarse from years of shouting over machinery and alien tongues. He hadn't seen another human in decades. Not since the diaspora, when humanity, desperate and cornered, left Earth and spread across the galaxy. And now, they were coming back. A sudden shimmer on the horizon caught his attention. A fleet of ships, sleek and impossibly advanced, cut through the atmosphere like silver arrows. They moved with precision, almost as if they were alive. Cale felt his heart slam against his ribcage. He recognized them immediately. Earth's children humans who had adapted, evolved, and thrived in the void. They weren't refugees or explorers. They were here to reclaim what was theirs. Before he could process, a shadow detached itself from the nearest city spire. A figure approached, tall, slender, with eyes that glowed an unsettling green. It was Lyrica, the Viren envoy. She had been his only friend in exile, though their friendship had always danced on the edge of loyalty and suspicion. "Cale Mercer," she said, her voice a melodic hiss that somehow carried warmth. "You shouldn't be here. They are coming, and they won't stop." "I've been waiting for this," Cale said, his jaw tightening. "For 500,000 years, humanity waited. And now, it's our turn to speak." Lyrica's expression faltered. "You don't know what they've become. They're not the humans you remember. They have powers, technologies, ideas you can't even imagine. And they've learned one thing very well: they never forgive." Cale glanced up. The first human flagship pierced the sky. It was colossal, reflecting both the twin suns and the weight of 500,000 years of survival. From his vantage point, the city below seemed fragile, insignificant, like a sandcastle in a storm. A distant alarm shrieked. The Viren city stirred. Hover drones darted through the streets. Citizens tall and slender, with their luminous skin, scurried in panic. Cale didn't hesitate. He flicked a switch, releasing a series of energy beacons into the air. They would signal to the approaching humans that he was alive and waiting. Lyrica grabbed his arm. "Cale, don't do this. They will destroy everything." "They already destroyed our homes," Cale said quietly, his eyes hard as steel. "Now it's our turn to decide who survives." A sudden tremor shook the ground. Dust and sparks erupted from the city's core. Cale stumbled, gripping the controls. From the sky, a single human ship detached from the fleet, descending rapidly. The ship's hull gleamed like a shard of mirrored obsidian, and as it landed, the ground beneath it cracked like glass. Cale's blood ran cold. This was no gentle arrival. This was a declaration. Lyrica whispered, "Cale, what have you done?" "I've invited them," he said, a grim smile crossing his face. "And now, we see who's left standing." The ship's hatch hissed. Open. A silhouette emerged, human, yet different. Their eyes glowed with an inner fire, their posture radiating both authority and warning. Cale felt a shiver of recognition and fear. "Earth remembers," the figure said in a voice that echoed across the plains. "And Earth never forgets." The twin suns dipped further. Shadows swallowed the land. And for the first time in 500,000 years, humanity had returned not as refugees, not as negotiators, but as conquerors of destiny. And as the wind carried the distant roar of engines and the whispers of the city's terrified inhabitants, Kale realized this was just the beginning. Asterisk shadows of the past. Air trembled with anticipation as the human envoy stepped closer. Kale's eyes locked onto the glowing device in their hand. It wasn't a conventional weapon, no laser, no projectile. Instead, it pulsed with a strange fluid light, shifting colors like liquid glass. "Kale Mercer," the envoy said again, their voice calm but commanding. "Do you still remember the promises humanity made to the stars?" Kale swallowed hard. Memories of Earth, its forests, oceans, and cities, long since abandoned, rushed through him like a flood. Humanity had left for survival, scattering across the galaxy. But before they left, they had vowed to return if the time came, to protect what was theirs, to hold the galaxy accountable for every injustice. "I remember," Kale said, voice low, "but promises don't bring back what's been lost. Only action does." The envoy tilted their head, eyes scanning Kale with unsettling precision. "Good, because actions speak louder than words. And some debts must be settled." A distant boom echoed from the city. The round defense turrets had activated, firing arcs of plasma at the descending fleet. The humans responded instantly. Ships twisted and rotated in perfect synchronization, deflecting the energy beams effortlessly. Kale's breath caught. He had worked alongside the Varens for decades, and he had never seen anything that could counter their defenses so flawlessly. From the city walls, Lyrica's voice cut through the chaos. "Kale, you don't understand what they're capable of." "You can't," but Kale didn't answer. He didn't have to. His eyes followed the human ship, which released hundreds of smaller craft, shimmering, triangular, and impossibly fast. They swarmed like predatory birds, neutralizing the turrets without hesitation, without collateral damage. Kale felt a strange mix of awe and dread. Humanity had evolved beyond him, beyond any simulation or expectation. They had taken the stars and transformed them into weapons of precision. And he was standing in the middle of their path. Why come back after 500,000 years? Lyrica shouted, her voice trembling with fear and frustration. Why bring this destruction? Kale glanced at her, eyes burning. Because sometimes compassion requires strength, and sometimes justice demands a reckoning. In the city's central plaza, Viren leaders convened, their forms flickering with translucent robes that displayed intricate patterns of their neural activity. Panic spread as the humans began landing across multiple sectors, their steps calculated and deliberate. But the most terrifying moment came when the envoy raised their hand, pointing the pulsing device at the city's energy core. "Kale," the envoy said, voice steady, "do you see what must happen next?" The core flickered. The Varen citizens screamed. Kale's stomach dropped. The device emitted a soft, humming light, almost hypnotic, and Kale understood. This wasn't annihilation. They were testing, measuring, judging. The humans were deciding who would live, who would adapt, and who would be left behind. A sudden tremor ran beneath the city. From the lower tunnels, Kale heard the scraping of metal against stone. Something alive, something massive. The human envoy didn't flinch. They didn't even glance at the disturbance. Kale's heart pounded. He recognized that sound. He had heard rumors, whispers in the black markets and alien archives. Humanity, in its time among the stars, had engineered life forms as tools, guardians, and soldiers. And now, some of those creations were returning with them. Lyrica grabbed Kale by the arm. "You need to stop this." "You can't," but Kale shook her off gently. "No, Lyrica, I've waited too long. If humanity has returned, we cannot hide. We cannot negotiate. We face them or we fall. From the shadows, a massive figure emerged. It moved with a terrifying grace, half organic, half machine, with glowing lines tracing every contour. The ground quaked with each step. Varen drones fired, missiles streaking through the air, but they were shredded mid-flight by shimmering energy fields projected from the figure's limbs. The humans stepped back, their envoy holding the pulsing device. They didn't fire. They watched. Kale's breath caught. The figure was familiar. He had seen schematics in old archives, classified reports of Earth's guardians, biomechanical titans created by humanity to survive, protect, and fight across hostile worlds. And now one had arrived, not as a weapon, but as a sentinel. City erupted into chaos. Citizens screamed. Varan soldiers scrambled. Kale felt the weight of centuries pressing down on him. 500,000 years of waiting, surviving, hiding, all leading to this confrontation. Kale Mercer, the human envoy said, voice cutting through the turmoil. Your choice matters now. Stand with us or stand against us. The planet's fate hangs on your answer. Kale's eyes swept over. Lyrica, the city, the approaching human fleet, and the massive guardian at their gates. He realized that this was more than a test. It was a reckoning. And in that instant, he understood. Whatever decision he made next wouldn't just determine his life. It would decide the fate of the Varans, the humans, and the very soul of Earth's legacy. Asterisk. The reckoning begins. The blinding light from the envoy's device split the air like a thunderclap. Dust swirled violently, whipping around Kale and Lyrica, and for a moment the world seemed to vanish. He could hear the distant screams of the Varan citizens, the metallic groan of the city's defenses, and the low hum of the human fleet above, synchronized in deadly perfection. Kale shielded his eyes as the device's glow receded, leaving a shimmering distortion hovering above the plaza. The envoy stepped forward, motioning toward the city's core. The choice is yours, Kale. Intervene, or let the reckoning begin. Kale's mind raced. Every fiber of his being told him to resist, to save the city he had come to call home. Yet he understood something deeper. Humanity had waited this long, survived the void, mastered technologies that bent reality itself, and they were not here to destroy for cruelty's sake. They were here to enforce justice, to reclaim what had been lost. He took a deep breath, feeling the heat of the suns on his skin, the vibration of the city beneath his feet, and the distant thrum of the approaching guardian. We stand with them, he said finally, voice steady. The envoy's eyes flickered a subtle acknowledgement. The pulsing device dimmed slightly, and the guardian shifted its stance, releasing a low, resonant growl that seemed to resonate with the very air. The humans had come not just with power, but with understanding, and Kale felt a flicker of hope. Yet that hope was quickly overshadowed by an unrelenting reality. From the city's upper spires, the main Varan Council had activated a secondary defense, immense plasma cannons aimed directly at the plaza. The envoy's calm voice cut through Kale's thoughts. They will fire. You must protect them, or they will be obliterated. Kale's pulse quickened. He raced toward the control tower, navigating the chaos as citizens scrambled and drones whirled past him. Lyrica followed, her luminous skin flickering with worry. Kale, you can't. The city, it's collapsing. I have to try, he shouted back. His fingers flew over the alien interface, overriding turret commands he had memorized years ago. Slowly, he rerouted power, redirecting energy flows to stabilize the city's core. The screens around him flickered with alarming speed, yet Kale's instincts, human ingenuity honed through decades of survival, kept him ahead of the system's failures. Above, the Guardian moved with terrifying efficiency. intercepting the first salvo of plasma blasts with its massive arms, diverting streams of molten energy away from the city's vital structures. The humans' smaller craft joined in, weaving through the air with impossible precision, neutralizing automated turrets and shielding fleeing civilians. Kale's heart surged with pride and fear. Humanity had returned not as conquerors of cruelty, but as engineers, strategists, protectors. Every maneuver was calculated, every risk measured, every life considered. Then a new threat emerged. From the lower tunnels, Kale could see enormous shadows shifting against the wall's mutated remnants of Varan experiments buried long ago. Creatures half metal, half flesh, bred for war, now awakened by the human presence. They surged upward, intent on destruction. "Kale," Lyrica screamed. "They're coming from below. Nothing can stop them." But Kale didn't flinch. Years of engineering and battlefield experience surged through him. He grabbed an emergency control panel, triggering a series of kinetic barriers that rose from the streets, slowing the creatures. Sparks flew as metal collided with hybrid flesh, and the first wave was halted, though Kale knew more were coming. The human envoy stepped beside him, their calm presence unnerving in the chaos. "Do you see, Kale? Humans adapt, humans endure. This is what your species has become. And this is why we return." Kale nodded, understanding fully for the first time that survival had never been enough. Humanity had thrived, learned, evolved. And they had returned not just for vengeance, but for justice, for reconciliation, for a reckoning that demanded truth. The ground shuddered violently. The city's walls cracked, and from the tallest spire, a beam of pulsating energy shot upward, an alarm signal intended to summon reinforcements from distant sectors. But the envoy's device reacted again, emitting a harmonic resonance that neutralized the beam, leaving the city's signal disabled and the Varans scrambling. Lyrica turned to Kale, eyes wide with fear. "You've done it, but you don't understand. They can do more than just protect. They can reshape reality itself, if you don't act carefully." Before she could finish, the Guardian unleashed a devastating energy pulse, knocking back both humans and Varans. Kale felt himself thrown to the ground, hitting hard, dust and debris clouding his vision. When he looked up, he saw the envoy holding the pulsing device high, scanning the city as if measuring its potential, its resilience, its worthiness. Kale realized then, the humans were here to conquer, they were here to judge. And the city, and everyone within it, was on trial. But even as he understood this, he caught sight of something more horrifying. Deep within the shadows of the tunnels, glowing eyes far more numerous than the Guardian could handle were emerging. The mutated creatures had multiplied, and their numbers seemed infinite. Kale's jaw tightened. For the first time, he felt the crushing weight of 500,000 years of history, of survival, of exile. This was no ordinary conflict. This was the proving ground for an entire species. And in that moment, he understood the truth of the envoy's words. The reckoning had only just begun. Asterisk the first clash. Ground shook violently as the massive shadow surged upward from the tunnels. Its form was grotesque, an amalgam of metal and flesh, glistening with alien sinews and armored plating. Each step made the earth quake, sending Kale stumbling. The city's once proud spires now trembled like reeds in a storm. "Kale!" Lyrica screamed over the roar, her luminous skin flickering in terror. It's unstoppable." Kale's hands flew across the emergency control panels he had activated moments ago. Sparks flew as circuits overloaded. "Nothing is unstoppable," he growled, "not when humans and human ingenuity are involved." Above, the Guardian pivoted with terrifying precision. Its massive arms deflected debris, while smaller drones darted around it like lightning. The envoy lifted the pulsing device, emitting a harmonic pulse that slowed the creature's advance. The air shimmered as the device seemed to bend reality itself, creating a thin layer of protective energy around the city plaza. But the creature roared, a sound that vibrated through bone and steel alike, and surged forward again. Kale felt the vibration in his chest as he raced to override the city's defenses. He rerouted all power to kinetic shields, energy barriers rising from the streets. Sparks clashed against armored flesh, and for a moment the creature faltered. "You see, Lyrica?" Kale shouted, voice rising above the chaos. "They adapt. They survive. They fight." Lyrica's eyes filled with a mixture of awe and fear. "Yes, but these are not ordinary humans. They've become something else entirely. You cannot predict what they will do next." Kale didn't answer. His mind raced through decades of engineering, strategy, and battlefield experience. He had seen impossible odds and survived. And now he had the ultimate advantage. Humanity itself, returned from the stars. Tempered by survival and ingenuity from above, human ships swirled in intricate patterns, forming a living shield around the city. Energy pulses from their hulls neutralized attacks before they could strike. And then the envoy raised the pulsing device high, focusing its energy into a concentrated beam directed at the creature's chest. The shadowed monstrosity roared again, staggering under the force. Kale watched as it lashed out, striking drones aside like they were toys. Sparks flew, metal screeched, and the ground cracked beneath its weight. But still, it could not break through the combined defenses of the humans and the Guardian. Kale realized something extraordinary. Humanity had returned not as conquerors or saviors, but as collaborators. They fought alongside him, relying on his intimate knowledge of the city's defenses, and trusting him to guide them through terrain they had never seen. Yet the victory felt hollow. More shadows emerged from the tunnels, dozens now, writhing masses of metal and muscle. The envoy didn't flinch. "Kale Mercer," they said calmly, voice cutting through the chaos. "Every choice matters. Every life counts. Lead, and we will follow. Hesitate, and everything falls." Kale's stomach tightened. He had no illusions. The city could collapse in minutes if he made one wrong move. But he also understood that hesitation would doom them all. He took a deep breath, mapping every kinetic shield, every energy flow, every turret. He coordinated the humans and the Guardian, turning chaos into precision, panic into strategy. "Lyrica," he said, voice steady, "we may not survive unscathed, but we can make them see us. We can make them understand." Lyrica hesitated, then nodded slowly, trust flickering in her eyes. "Then let us fight. Together." The humans responded with breathtaking synchronization. Ships swooped, Guardians intercepted, and Kale guided. Energy flows with meticulous precision. For a moment, hope surged. The creature staggered, its numbers thinning as the tunnels emptied their monstrous occupants into traps set by Kale. But then, from the deepest shadows, a new horror appeared. Towering above the rest was a figure Kale recognized from ancient schematics, a war construct designed in humanity's early diaspora. Yet unlike the Guardian, this one radiated malice, its red sensors scanning with intelligence. It was built for destruction, and it had been waiting for this moment. Kale froze. The envoy's device pulsed violently, reacting to the presence of the war construct. "Kale," the envoy said, calm but urgent, "this is the final test. You must decide. Will you stand your ground, or retreat and risk everything?" Kale's mind raced. Every option carried consequences beyond calculation. Retreat would save some lives, but surrender the city to the shadows. Stand and fight could destroy everything or solidify humanity's return as a force beyond reckoning. He glanced at Lyrica, at the city trembling beneath their feet, at the Guardians straining against the hordes, and then back at the human envoy. The pulse from the device synchronized with his heartbeat. Kale clenched his fists. "We stand," he said firmly. "We fight together." The war construct advanced, its steps shaking the plains. The city's defenses flared to life under Kale's guidance. The humans braced. The Guardian roared, raising its arms. And Kale knew this was more than a battle. It was a proving ground for the spirit of humanity itself. Asterisk, the heart of humanity. Sudden silence was disorienting. The war construct froze mid-lunge. The monstrous shadows paused, and even the human fleet hung motionless in the sky. Kale felt his pulse pounding in his ears. The city, though trembling, held its breath with him. The envoy's device hovered above the plaza, glowing brighter than ever. Its energy field pulsed rhythmically, resonating with Kale's heartbeat. Then, as if reaching into the very core of his being, a voice spoke not aloud, but inside his mind. "Only those who embody humanity's heart shall prevail. Only those who understand, adapt, and protect will endure." Kale's chest tightened. This was no mere weapon. It was a test, a judgment. The humans had returned not merely to fight, but to measure the essence of what it meant to be human. Ingenuity, compassion, and courage under impossible odds. He looked at Lyrica. Her glowing skin dimmed slightly, reflecting fear and awe. "Kale, do you understand? This isn't just a battle. It's proving your worth, your species' worth." Kale swallowed hard. 500,000 years of exile, survival, and adaptation had led to this moment. Every life he had touched, every city he had defended, every innovation he had crafted, it all mattered now. He turned back to the city. Varan citizens were frozen in place, eyes wide with confusion and terror. Kale made a decision. He activated the emergency evacuation protocols he had secretly designed decades ago, routing citizens toward underground shelters reinforced by human engineering. Energy barriers rose to guide them safely, and drones formed protective corridors dot above. The human envoy watched, their eyes reflecting both patience and intensity. Kale realized they were evaluating not his technical skill, but his judgment. Could he balance survival with compassion? Could he protect life even under the threat of annihilation? Then the war construct roared, breaking the silence. It surged forward, testing the energy field, pushing against the humans' defensive perimeter. Kale knew it was a test, but he also knew hesitation would cost lives. He signaled the Guardian, who intercepted the construct with a ground-shaking impact, and Kale directed the human fleet to form a protective formation around the plaza dot in the midst of chaos. Kale's eyes caught a small child trapped beneath a collapsed spire. Without thinking, he ran, weaving between debris and energy pulses. Lyrica called after him, but he didn't stop. The child's frightened eyes met his, and Kale understood the true measure of humanity wasn't in the weapons or the machines. It was in risking everything to protect life. With effort born of desperation and instinct, Kale lifted the spire just enough to pull the child free. The ground trembled beneath him, but he carried the child into the protective barrier. Lyrica followed, ensuring they were safely inside the evacuation corridor. The envoy's device pulsed violently, as if acknowledging Kale's actions. The war construct hesitated, then retreated slightly. Kale realized the judgment was not only on him, but on the entire city. Every choice mattered. "Kale Mercer," the envoy said aloud for the first time, stepping forward. "You understand. Now, humanity does not conquer through fear. Humanity endures through protection, adaptation, and trust." Kale nodded, exhaustion weighing heavily on him. "We've waited 500,000 years. We've survived. And now we fight for more than survival. We fight for life itself." The human fleet responded with coordinated precision. Energy fields expanded, trapping the remaining shadow creatures in containment zones. The Guardian moved through the city, neutralizing threats without harming civilians. Kale directed defenses with calm efficiency, a symphony of human ingenuity in action. Then, from the highest spire, a beacon of light emerged. It was the final test. The pulse of the device intensified, creating a massive energy ring that surrounded the city. The humans and Kale stood inside it, the shadows pressed against the edges. The envoy spoke, voice reverberating across the plaza. "This is the Crucible. Prove your heart, or the legacy of Earth ends here." Kale's mind raced. The energy field was not just a shield, it was a measurement of every action, every choice. It would judge intent, compassion, and ingenuity. He turned to Lyrica, who looked back at him with unwavering trust. "We face it together," he said. As the shadows surged, Kale activated a series of failsafe devices he had hidden for decades: energy dispersers, kinetic dampeners, and rapid deployment barriers. The humans adjusted instantly, integrating his designs into their fleet systems. Every threat was countered with precision, every move a testament to collaboration and trust. The war construct roared one final time and collided with the energy field. Light and force erupted in a blinding display, shaking the city to its foundations. But slowly, impossibly, the shadows began to fall back. The city held. Humanity's ingenuity, Kale's courage, and the trust between species had tipped the balance. Kale fell to his knees, exhausted but alive. Lyrica joined him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You've done it. Kale, you've survived the judgment." The envoy lowered the device. Its light dimmed, and the massive energy field dissipated. As shadows retreated into the tunnels, defeated but not destroyed. The city was battered, scarred, yet standing. Kale looked up at the humans, understanding at last the truth of their return. They had come to test, to judge, to measure the heart of Earth's children. And he had proven that humanity, despite exile, loss, and time, still embodied resilience, compassion, and ingenuity. The Watchers awaken. The signal pulsed across the city, vibrating through the ground and the very air itself. Kale's stomach tightened. He had spent decades studying alien frequencies, deciphering distant communications, and preparing for threats he had never fully seen. But this was something entirely different. The envoy's device hummed in resonance with the signal. Its light shifted, brighter, sharper, almost urgent. "Kale Mercer," the envoy said, their calm demeanor now edged with tension. "What you hear is not Varen. This is older, far older, and it knows we have returned." Kale knelt on the cracked streets, scanning the transmission. The language was incomprehensible, a mix of harmonic overtones and fractal patterns that twisted the mind. Yet even without understanding, the message was clear. Observers, beings of unimaginable scale, were aware of humanity's presence in this sector, and they were approaching. Lyrica's hand found his arm. Her glow dimmed in worry. "Kale, if these Watchers are real, if they come, nothing we know could withstand them." Kale's mind raced. He thought of Earth, of humanity scattered across stars, of every colony, every ship, every seed of civilization. He thought of the humans who had returned disciples of survival, ingenuity, and compassion. He realized then what he must do. "They're testing us," Kale said quietly. "The Varens were only the beginning. If we survive this, humanity proves its place in the galaxy, not through weapons alone, but through heart and reason." The envoy nodded slightly, understanding. "Then we prepare. But the Watchers do not negotiate. They do not forgive. They assess. Can they consume what is unworthy? Kale's fingers flew over the city's defense network, integrating human and Varen systems. The Guardian roared, moving to strategic positions to shield civilians. The human fleet reoriented, forming defensive patterns Kale had devised, based not just on firepower, but on survival probabilities, rescue corridors, and energy harmonics designed to confuse the Watcher's sensors. Then the sky changed. The twin suns' light refracted through the upper atmosphere, creating prisms of eerie color. Shadows stretched across the plains as massive forms emerged from beyond the starships and structures unlike anything Kale had ever imagined. Their shapes were jagged, almost organic, and they moved as if alive, pulsating with energy. The humans held formation, calm but tense. Kale felt a thrill of fear and pride. These were not gods, these were challenges. Challenges humanity would meet with courage, wit, and unity. Not suddenly, the signal intensified. A projection appeared. Above the city, a colossal, holographic form that shimmered in impossible geometry. Its voice was a chorus of thought, piercing Kale's mind directly. Earth's children, you have returned. Your presence disrupts the balance. Prove your worth, or be erased. Kale swallowed. Lyrica's hand gripped his shoulder tightly. Kale, they will obliterate the city. Even with the humans, nothing can stop them. Kale shook his head. Nothing can stop ingenuity, and nothing can stop heart. We fight, not just with weapons, but with every idea, every connection, every ounce of trust we've built. That's humanity's strength. The first wave of the Watcher's assault began. Energy beams lashed across the plains, tearing through terrain, yet the humans' fleet reacted with seamless precision. Shields flared, energy pulses diverted, and Kale directed countermeasures with a calm born of decades of crisis management. The Guardian moved through the city, intercepting falling debris, protecting civilians, and using its massive strength to redirect attacks. Kale realized that in this moment, the union of human strategy and compassion was more powerful than brute force alone. From the tunnels, remnants of the shadow creatures stirred again, sensing weakness. But Kale had anticipated this. Automated. Barriers sealed the tunnels, and human drones neutralized any threat before it could breach the surface. Every life preserved, every strategy executed with precision. Then came the Watcher's second wave, a massive structure, moving with terrifying intelligence, released swarms of probing machines that dissolved the city's outer defenses. Kale's breath hitched. The Envoy's device flared in response, creating resonant fields that repelled the probes, but the strain was visible. Kale clenched his fists. Lyrica, trust me. Humanity doesn't retreat. We adapt. We survive. We save life no matter the odds. Lyrica nodded, eyes glowing faintly. I've believed in you, Kale. And now, I believe in them too. The humans launched a counteroffensive, not to destroy, but to disrupt and mislead. Energy harmonics generated by the Envoy's device, guided by Kale's commands, created illusions, redirecting the Watcher's attention, buying precious time. For the city's evacuation corridors, Kale felt a surge of hope. Humanity's return wasn't just a reckoning, it was a statement. The Watcher fleet paused, scanning, recalculating. Kale knew they were observing, testing, measuring. Every life saved, every precise move, every act of protection mattered. But then, from the far horizon, a shadow deeper and larger than the rest moved forward, an entity that dwarfed the Watcher vessels, its energy radiating like a black sun. Kale's breath caught. This was no ordinary assessment. This was the ultimate test. Legacy of Earth. The Black Sun entity hovered over Vera 3, its presence twisting the air, bending light, and pulling the city into an eerie stillness. Kale felt the weight of 500,000 years pressing on him. This was no ordinary foe. This was a cosmic judgment, a test not of weapons, but of humanity itself. Lyrica clutched his arm. Her glow pulsed faintly with fear and hope. Kale, I've never seen anything like this, even the humans. Kale nodded grimly. They've survived worse. They've endured the void. They've returned to finish what began long ago. We do not cower, we act. The human envoy stepped beside him, pulsing device raised. Its light resonated with the Black Sun entity, creating ripples in reality itself. Kale realized that the device did more than protect. They were communicating with the entity, speaking in a language older than thought, older than the stars. The envoy spoke aloud, voice calm but echoing across the plains. We are the children of Earth. We endure, we protect, we remember, and we act with heart. Kale felt a surge of understanding. This was the ultimate HFY truth. Humanity did not dominate through violence alone. They prevailed through ingenuity, compassion, and the unyielding desire to preserve life. He gave commands rapidly, integrating the city's defense systems, human fleet tactics, and guardian positioning into a coordinated symphony. Energy fields flared, barriers rose, and evacuation corridors guided civilians safely away from the city's heart. Every move was precise, every decision weighted with care. The Black Sun entity reacted, unleashing waves of energy that threatened to tear reality apart. The city trembled, streets cracked, and massive spires groaned under the strain. But Kale did not falter. Guided by instinct, experience, and trust, he synchronized the human's device with the city's systems, creating harmonic frequencies that stabilized the energy. Lyrica gasped as the device pulsed in rhythm with Kale's heartbeat. It's responding to you, she whispered. Yes, Kale said, voice steady. They're listening, the Watchers. They're measuring humanity's essence, not power, not destruction, heart, ingenuity, compassion. The humans launched. A final coordinated effort. Ships moved in perfect formation, projecting energy harmonics across the city, blending Kale's engineering with their advanced technology. The Guardian struck with titanic force, neutralizing the last of the shadow creatures that had survived the tunnels. And then came the moment of truth. Kale raised his hand, signaling the envoy. The pulsing device emitted a radiant beam that intertwined with the Black Sun entity. The air shimmered, the light bending around them in impossible patterns. Kale felt a rush of energy, not destructive, but evaluative, probing the depths of his mind, his memories, his choices. The entity's colossal form trembled. Its voice, a chorus of thoughts, reverberated in Kale's mind. You are worthy. A wave of light washed over the city. The Black Sun entity receded, folding back into the void from whence it came. The Watcher fleet dispersed, leaving the planet in silence, save for the hum of the human ships and the murmur of the city's survivors. Kale sank to his knees, exhausted, tears streaking his dirt-covered face. Lyrica knelt beside him. You, all of you, proved it. Humanity's heart, it's real. The human envoy approached, lowering the device. Kale Mercer, they said softly, you and your people have shown what Earth's children are capable of, not just survival, but understanding, compassion, and ingenuity. You are the beginning of a new legacy. Kale looked up at the sky, twin suns casting their final amber glow across the plains. 500,000 years, and now humanity's finally home. The city, battered but standing, began to hum with renewed energy. Survivors emerged from shelters, eyes wide with wonder and awe at the humans and their guardians. Varens approached, cautiously, their fear tempered by respect. Kale realized that the bonds forged here between species, between humans and aliens, were stronger than any weapon. He turned to Lyrica. This is just the beginning. Humanity has returned, not to conquer, but to protect, to teach, to learn, and to inspire. From the distant horizon, the human fleet began to depart, leaving behind emissaries, guardians, and technology that would help the planet rebuild. Kale understood that this was the true HFY victory, not the destruction of enemies, but the elevation of life itself. And as the twin suns set, painting the skies with violet and amber, Kale knew that Earth's children had returned to settle the score, not with vengeance, but with heart. The stars whispered of humanity's return, and across the galaxy, watchers stirred, aware now that Earth's legacy had awakened, and it was not to be trifled with. Final cliffhanger, hinting at future possibilities. Asterisk far beyond Vera 3. In the cold darkness between galaxies, something older than the watchers stirred. It had felt the pulse of humanity's heart, and now it was curious. The universe would never be the same. Asterisk.